Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. We're taking another look here again at SUI, seeing what's going on. I really like this price structure here compared to Bitcoin. I'm going to explain a little bit more as to why I feel that way. It doesn't mean I'm just going to jump blindly into a long position, but we're really close to breaking tentatively bullish, and I wanted to explain what I look for in situations like these and why this may be an ideal situation to consider a trade. Okay, again, it's not definitely not going to be an exact specific like perfect case scenario, because this is a very jagged chart, and you got to recognize that SUI up until the last 24 hours has been responding poorly to Bitcoin's behavior. I mean, take a look at this chart and this chart. I mean, Bitcoin's establishing higher highs and higher lows, well, within reason, right? Basically higher lows at the very least. And then Bitcoin, or SUI, for example, still establishing lower highs and lower lows. So it's not a phenomenal situation by any stretch, but I'm impressed with the last 24 hours and how well it's bottoming out, and just kind of reaffirming some of those support levels. And I want to double check some backend data such as open interest and liquidation to kind of see if that confirms my thoughts here. But either way, welcome aboard. Thanks so much for joining me here. Please hit that like button before we get started. Really appreciate that. And if you want to learn something, you're in the right place. I try to do my best to educate on, best practice on trading, and hopefully you can get some good nuggets of information. If you want more nuggets of info, which is weird to say out loud, link down below, cryptocash.tech, if you want to go ahead and consider joining our community. We got a lot of new members coming over. I highly recommend, if you're part of our community, you read through our trade alerts. These are just kind of insights on coins I'm planning to take trades with. Yes, our chain link and our Aave trade from yesterday are just fine. Don't worry about that. Signals guide, though, absolutely read through this so you kind of understand how my signals work. Because again, I have an automated trading bot for day trading, and of course, my swing trades are all me. So let's talk about the backend data, kind of see what's going on. With the liquidation from yesterday, not much has changed here, folks. I mean, we're not like seeing like these massive, obvious outliers here where the price action is going to go up or down because of liquidation. We're in the middle of some short-term liquidation, and we're in the middle of some long-term liquidation. Okay, a simple way to understand it is that we got a range of like 425 upwards of approximately 515, roughly a $1 range. 425 to 525, let's make it simple, is that range of just kind of free flow, and there's heavy concentrations above and below those pockets there. Let's quickly look at the last 12 hours. So I'm curious if there's any kind of insight here on where the price may go next. We can see we are closer to upper liquidation levels, so some shorts between 470 and 480 may be the next target. And again, I'm only saying that that might be a potential reality because we're closer to that upside versus the downside. But either way, no matter how you square it off here, there's a lot of shorts and longs in both directions. But if we take a look here, the overall sentiment is there's more shorts in the market than there are longs in the overall sense, right? So this is the liquidation delta telling us that there's more shorts that could be liquidated than longs, basically implying that the bears are mostly in control, okay? So again, this doesn't necessarily bode well for taking a long position. Taking a long into that isn't always the strongest consideration. But what is also a good consideration, and again, just something to be mindful of here, once more, I'm not trying to convince you to take a trade by any stretch, because anytime I analyze the coins, I'm convincing myself not to take a trade at all times, right? There are some times, though, when coins perform well, contrary to Bitcoin, or in combination with it, there's different things you want to look for, and that's what we're trying to identify here. Okay, so truth is, this coin is still bearish in the short-term time frame. More people are shorting than taking longs. We take a look here, we can see 472, that once again, that reaffirms itself, that 475 approximate as that resistance for us, right? We saw the price come up here as I analyzed the coins yesterday. It peaked up above a little bit, but still couldn't quite get past through that, okay? Keep in mind, we've retested that level a few times, but for the most part, we got a lot of exit liquidity at this range. And open interest tells us there's a lot of positions still open there, therefore implying that people are going to probably sell when the price gets to that range. So if you're going to consider taking along with this coin, hypothetically, secure profits between now and then would be an appropriate consideration, right? Again, easier said than done, but generally speaking, you do want to kind of consider, securing profits if you're going to take a long. So hypothetically, boom, little 3% trade, get in and out before, we hit that resistance. That's roughly what you're looking for. Anyways, that's kind of how I structure my trades. In most cases, I try to get out before resistance ranges, or if there's liquidation just above a resistance, I'll probably put my stop loss, my take profit target right there in that range, if you will. So having said that, daily time frame, where are we at here? Well, we're still over the 20-day SMA until we close below 455. I don't think we have anything to really super concern ourselves with. But the truth is, the 20-day SMA, we need to be above that to have any kind of bullish continuation. So 485 is that potential resistance range for us, but more importantly, 475. So we're starting to see some resistances stacking up here for us. And again, it's not really all that clean of a chart, okay? Again, a lot of jagged price action type of behavior here, and just all the more reason to be very careful. Use low leverage if you consider trading this coin. Same thing here with RSI at 50. We haven't been able to break back up above 50 in the RSI. We keep trying, but not quite there yet. That kind of implies that we're not in a good position. Stochastic is swinging up for the second time. That does typically carry more weight than the first, basically implying that the first leg down wasn't enough, and they've legged down twice, which you can kind of see here. We have our second leg down, and the likelihood of recovery is greater because majority of liquidation has been swept. That's usually how it works. While there's no short-term liquidation here, previous long-term liquidation data has been fulfilled there. So the simple way to understand it is that the daily time frame is not bullish nor bearish. We're kind of in this neutral situation, which means that you can trade. You just got to trade with caution, right? You don't just optimistically take a long position just because. All right, and you don't just take a short either. But the truth is, look at the 4-hour time frame here. This does look like a short consideration may be more appropriate. And I hate to even say that out loud because this coin, I do not, absolutely, without a doubt, do not recommend shorting this coin. But we are below 3 out of the 4 moving averages. The 20 is just now barely getting below the price. And if we take a look here at the RSI, still kind of stuck in that 50 range. So it's kind of like this indecisive situation here. Same thing with the money flow index. It's pretty low. Obviously, there's a lot of selling pressure to influence that. But the money flow index in combination with the RSI, not necessarily a favorable sign. Okay, we want to be over 50 at the very least, which we're not. So if we do close, just say 465, maybe 475 today or higher, I'd feel much better about taking a long at that point, right? And as I mentioned yesterday, it's important to wait for confirmation. I'm glad that the majority of my members did. They didn't FOMO into the top at 475 like I mentioned you don't want to do. And they instead considered waiting and were patient. Because again, this is what's going to happen. If the price is going to continue higher, it needs to, in most cases, break the resistance level, come back and retest as a support. We never had that happen. The price literally just rejected out and continued lower. So for those who got in at 475, I'm sorry. You probably should watch the entire video next time, right? There are some folks, it's funny though, they'll give me some toxic comments, and you can just tell that they didn't watch the entire video. They maybe fast forward to the end and saying that, you catch my bumper sticker, if you will, and they forgot to mention that, they didn't watch the entire video, and oftentimes that'll throw you off. So don't, if you're a shortcut kind of person, right, you just take shortcuts your whole life, that's okay, don't get me wrong, but the trading is not a shortcut kind of situation. There's no get rich quick thing here. Yeah, you could have bought GameStop at $4 and sold at 600, right? There's some luck involved with some people, but for the most part, that's not really the case here, okay? SUI is tentatively topped out. If you're going to take any type of trades, you want to wait for confirmation at this point. We don't have a ton of confirming factors. However, let's see if the hourly is telling us something different. This is one that I kind of value pretty high. The hourly time frame does tell us here. Lagging span is free and clear, soon to intersect, not the most appropriate. Conversion lines below the baseline, and we're within the cloud. So even though we try to break above the cloud, you can kind of see here, this is, again, I mentioned this yesterday, wait for 3 or 4 hours before the price action, above the cloud rather, before you consider a long position, because you want to confirm that we can hold that level. We didn't, price action rejected. So technically this resistance level here is the cloud effectively holding the price action down. It's also the descending trend, the lower high, low pattern. But no matter how you look at it here, we need to spend at least a few hours above the cloud before we have any confirming factors to take along. So while I started this video thinking that it would be a good idea, and I had some alerts trigger for me earlier today, that it would be a good idea to take along with this coin, I'm probably going to wait a little bit longer to take a position. Again, mainly because of all the stuff I discussed here. But the one thing I do want to leave you with here, first of all, is just kind of what I originally spoke about. If you look at this coin, kind of how it's been performing in the last 12 hours, you can see Bitcoin's been pulling back, and Bitcoin's still establishing lower highs and lower lows. If you look at this here, while it's not monumental, we are establishing a higher high here so far in the last 4 hours, and that generally is a good sign. SUI is typically one of the first front runners to take, to kind of take control, if you will. So when Bitcoin bottoms out, this one was one of the first ones to recover, and we're starting to see that early indication that maybe Bitcoin is bottoming out. Maybe SUI is foretelling here that we are soon to continue higher. But the truth is, it's never a perfect situation, but this chart looks a lot better than Bitcoin's chart or most other charts. Well, Solana's a kind of an outlier today, but you take a look at most other charts, they're performing pretty much concurrent with Bitcoin, where SUI is slightly outperforming Bitcoin on the shorter time frame. Again, that's a stretch. You don't take trades based on that one thing though, right? That's the whole concept, okay? So I just want to kind of describe that to you so you know specifically, what to look for, how to identify things. But I'll still hold true to the fact that, 475, a closure above 475, and preferably Bitcoin at 105K or higher. Those are two things I'm going to be looking for to take along with confidence with this coin. All right, folks, I hope this made sense. I described it correctly. Link down below if you want to become a better trader. CryptoCash.tech is the site. I'll post our playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord here. It looks a little something like this if you're not familiar, where I just kind of give you insight and the details on coins I'm planning to trade. Cool. All right, have a good rest of your day, folks. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.